Christine, are you ready to go? Shall we start? All right. So good morning, everybody. My name is Saskia Van Tettering. I am the webinar host for today's webinar, and Revamp or Rebuild, making the right choice for your website. And I'm just going to introduce Prospology, and then I'll introduce Christine. So Prospology is the brainchild of Sophie Ashe, and she herself was a successful freelance medical writer, and her business became so onerous that she decided that she would start her own company, finding the freedom of flexibility that you can get with freelance medical writing. And so many people were so happy with her success. They asked her how she did it, and that's how Prospology came about. It is about, business, marketing, community, strategic networking. There's a curriculum that Prospology offers for the right eligible students who want to come in and build their own website, their own business, including the websites. And it's called Thriving and Free Medical Writer Program. And if you are interested in that, please have a look at prospology.com, and you'll see what some of the different aspects of doing freelance medical writing, how that will come about. Their mental health support, overcoming imposter syndrome, building your own website, so which segues into Christine. She is one of Prospology's expert for web design, and she is a graphic design artist, as you can see on the screen. And Christine is going to talk to us about whether or not to use your old website or start to rebuild a new one, and the power of the right messages and the right design and everything like that. So before we get started, we're going to do a quick poll, and let me just pull those up. Launch. There we go. So this is the first one, which is, how long have you been in business? If there's more than one answer, just answer the most recent. I'm just getting started, less than 2 years, more than 2 years, more than 5 years. So if you would like to start that one. And the second one is, do you have multiple businesses or service offerings, including, I have an existing website for one business, for more or multiple? And are you planning to adapt your website or create a new one, which is what Christine will help you with today. And so let's see. All right, I think everybody's answered that. All right. So Christine, can you see those? Oh, share the results. There you go. So can you see the results here?
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to vote in our poll to start out with. We always want to make sure that, we're catering to as many of you as possible throughout the content that we share as well, and make it as valuable as possible too. So I love that there's a great range between those starting out 50% to even a good mixture of like less than 2 years. So still those very foundational years to even more than 5 years. Maybe some things have evolved since then too, or having their existing website for one of their primary businesses or service offerings, and then 25% being the same business offers, but multiple types of services. I hear you for sure. If there's multiple things that you want to share and not have that overwhelm kick in on your website, or even with the third question as well, a really great mix in between of a lot of things of planning to adapt your current one, because I totally get there's a lot already probably built on there. And then a good mix of trying to figure out what to do next. So you're in the right place for sure.
All right. Okay. Can you see the screen there, Christine? You're good?
Yeah. Yeah. If everybody can give a quick thumbs up if everything, yeah, looks good on your end, we'll dive into the webinar today.
Okay. Yeah, thumbs up.
Gotcha, amazing. So in terms of the overall webinar today, you will be able to walk away with uncovering if your current website feels aligned ultimately with your ever evolving needs, including your design and your brand messaging as well. Apply some really powerful strategies overall that you can enhance your own user experience on your website to boosting some of that traffic that you might be looking for, some further engagement, some bookings perhaps as well would be great, and really exploring some beautiful features as well that we'll uncover a little bit more of to really build out that website visibility and attract more of those clients that you're looking for, as well as determining whether you should adapt, revamp, or rebuild your website to make the optimal choice for you and your business moving forward. So just looking at some different key considerations that you'll want to identify throughout this with your own website as well. Perhaps your current website is lacking a look and feel. That might be a little bit outdated, perhaps. It might be just not really modern with where you want it to be or reflective of what's going on currently in the industry, or perhaps it's lacking some modern design elements as well. So whether, again, looking at design trends, perhaps that might be evaluated throughout, just to, again, make sure that it's relevant with what's going on, if it's still a reflection of you, especially if things have evolved over the years as well, or if it's reflective of your dream clients that you want to be attracting more of, and perhaps also lacking essential functionality. So perhaps you have some aspects that perhaps aren't being translated accordingly, aren't really clearly communicating what you're looking for moving forward. These are some key indicators of an outdated design and functionality for your current website. So these are really strong indicators that a new website might be needed as well to really align with these current design trends happening, or that user expectations that you're wanting to set for a really clean, seamless, easy approach to finding the information that they need. And so if you want to look at two different options in particular for your own website design success, then on the left-hand side here, adapting your old website as one option, being that you could review different trends and inspiration, for example. So perhaps set a timer to look through some different websites that you feel inspired by, you like the flow and the user experience of. Perhaps you have some design elements that feel more reflective of what you want to be able to create. Even looking at that previous slide as well, maybe you want to incorporate some icons to break up some of your text in certain areas as well to make it visually appealing and more digestible for people to consume the content that you do have on your website, or even looking at other templates that better communicate your experience and flow of content. So if you're still sticking with your same platform, for example, whether it's Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, you really want to maybe perhaps look at some different templates to have a better overall flow of what you're looking to showcase as well moving forward. And so I will mention as well that you can please provide any questions as well in the chat box. So I appreciate that, Saskia. There will be opportunities throughout the presentation by all means, and ample time at the end in case you do have any specifics that you want to dive into, which is really great. So as they come up, please put them in the chat below as well for us to address. And then if you are looking at making a new website, perhaps you want to be able to redefine your own branding as well and look at that different inspiration. So perhaps a lot of things have evolved over the past few years that you've started out your business, or even 5 years from when you first started, and that it might be a reflection of you raising your prices and wanting to attract a different type of clientele. Perhaps you have different values that you want to really bring to the surface as well. Maybe your branding doesn't reflect like more of a playful side that you want to showcase as a different unique value proposition and what you have to offer in the medical industry, for example. Really looking and redefining what that means to you and how you best want to represent yourself. So really looking at some inspiration as well from there. and then being able to determine if your website platform still aligns with your needs as well. So if you are, for example, on the Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, let's say as example, then perhaps just reevaluate if you actually need the features that are currently on those platforms, or do you need something a little bit more user-friendly, perhaps that feels more intuitive to you? Because I always like to tell my clients that the best website platform that you can choose for yourself is definitely the one that you actually end up using as well. Don't feel like you need to put yourself in a box just because everybody says that WordPress is really great for SEO. It's how you utilize the platforms to make it really work for you. And given that you're paying for the hosting, the domain for the URL already, you really want to make sure that the websites are working for you. And then,
Christine, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
What is your favorite platform for website design?
Yeah, these are one of the modules that we actually go through in Prospology, which is really amazing as well to kind of dissect a little bit more, because it is such a tailored approach to each and every single business in that sense. I would say a lot based on the work that we've done with Prospology members, for example, because it is so content heavy, given like the portfolio feature that you might need to use, for example, and have that ongoing growth that you need as well. So if you feel like there's a blog or portfolio feature that's going to be a main aspect as part of your website design that you want to create easy for your own backend management as well as a front end experience, then I would say like either like Squarespace or Wix is a really intuitive option. They're both quite user friendly in terms of the backend for you to manage those features in particular, while still having very competitive pricing for their plans. But I would say Shopify is great if you do end up doing more like product-based offers as well. So whether that's digital like products or you want to do more physical ones, e-commerce oriented, then that's really robust for that platform as well. But great question, Saskia. And so the second consideration you'll want to be able to consider is around your user experience, so your UX in particular. So perhaps you want to enhance your overall user interface by making button links really clear. You'll be able to like create some more interactive elements, whether it's through your own copy and content, for example, just making it really easily clickable or clear of what that next step is to have them take that next encouraged action on your website. But it really comes back to setting those clear expectations and goals of what you expect for your users that land on your website, especially. So this could be a improvement in your usability to enhancing the visual appeal overall with that branding, or optimizing the overall experience and flow of how information is presented, especially. So if you are considering some of these, if your current website is difficult to navigate as one key identifier, perhaps like your menu bar is a bit jumbled up, it's difficult to find out, or you have a million drop downs, for example, in each of their sub pages, it can be really difficult to find the information that you need perhaps as well. Or perhaps there is a slow loading time on your website as well. So people's patience, unfortunately, and first impressions of your website will really dictate whether they do come back or if they're going to bounce off and never to return essentially as well. So it's all part of that experience and also part of SEO with the slow loading time in particular as well. And then looking at your responsiveness. So this meaning looking at different various devices. So for example, more than probably 50% of users are using mobile devices when they're searching for websites nowadays as well. So that's a big consideration that you'll want to be able to implement in terms of your website design. It's not only solely to create a really great laptop or desktop experience anymore. You really want to optimize for accessibility on different devices as well, and experiences for different people of abilities as well. So these are really strong indicators to be able to change the results of potentially a negative user experience into a positive one by taking these into consideration and enhancing ultimately your users' like satisfaction, engagement, repeat traffic, and ultimately your bookings as well. And so again, coming back to the two options that you might have with creating a more improved user experience overall, if you want to adapt your current old website, for example, you can take an assessment opportunity to audit what's working or what's some areas of improvement or opportunities as well. So I really love coming back to this resource that I recommend to clients called hotjar.com. So it's a tool essentially for heat mapping for customer behaviors as well, to really make informed decisions in your own business. So I do recommend checking it out. They do have a free trial version, I believe, for at least one use for a URL. So I recommend typically your homepage, as it might be the most high traffic area of your current website as well, or even when you move into a new one or updated one at that as well, just to see where are people naturally clicking into, if you can see how far they're scrolling down as well. But these are going to be really key indicators of where people are clicking into. So for example, if they're clicking onto an image on your homepage and it's not currently clickable or hyperlinked to another page, perhaps, then you'll want to be able to make those changes to optimize what people are naturally behaving as at the moment too. Thank you for putting that in the chat as well. If you want to check out that resource, Saskia had put it in the chat there for you. And then otherwise for optimizing mobile device and accessibility. So you'll want to be able to, most website platforms will have a mobile preview as well when you're editing in the back end, especially. So you can toggle back and forth between the desktop and the mobile version. So some of them do a decent job at it, but you'll always want to double check, triple check perhaps as well, that things are flowing the right way, the information presented in the way that you want it to, intended. And so this way you're still optimizing for different devices as much as possible to make sure that you're still capturing that additional audience on those different devices and platforms. But in terms of accessibility as well, you want to make sure that there's enough contrast between like your color choices, for example. So we have, I'll put in the chat here, there are like AODA color checkers as well that you can utilize to make sure that there's enough contrast between the colors that you use for people who may have some visibility, accessibility difficulty, or if you want to add in alt text, for example, which will help boost some SEO in the keywords, but also makes it descriptive for your images, for example, to tag them in. So this way people with readers on there can still experience your website in a very different way and finding the information that they need. So definitely can adapt some of those to your current website as well, and still apply some of these moving forward into your new one. So coming back always to audit what's working, what are areas of improvement ultimately too. So again, I do recommend Hotjar if you are still creating a new website from your current one. And then really look at streamlining and creating a straightforward menu navigation. So coming back to, what does that top bar look like? Is it easy to access? Are there like more than 10 pages on there? Are there way too many drop downs? Really streamline it. What are the most necessities that you need to find the information that you need? And then I'll mention as well, if you have your current website and the SEO had been performing well and you're creating a new one on the same or a different platform even, you want to make sure that the slugs, so essentially the part that comes after your domain.com/contact/about/homepage, for example, all those slugs remain the same if your SEO has been forming previously well on your current website and you're creating a new one. That will help continue that SEO as well for you. So just something to keep in mind when you're renaming your pages on a new one. And then also creating really straightforward, direct, clear call to actions as well. So if it is creating that familiarity with your button styling, for example, so typically studies have showcased that a lot of like red and green type buttons are very appealing and action oriented, especially for users as well. So something to consider if that is part of your color palette currently, then how can you utilize these for a big pop or emphasis of where you want people to take action on and being consistent with that overall. And then again, making sure to optimize for mobile design and accessibility to really capture more reach and users across multiple devices. So we want to give you an opportunity in case you do have any questions here.
I do have a question for you. So part of Prospology's curriculum is website design and website development as well. And how like, what does that entail? You're part of the curriculum and you're one of our experts, right?
Yeah, so as Prospology's like branding, graphic design, web design expert, there's multiple ways that you can get support, which is really lovely and why I love this community, especially. You're supported every single step of the way in that sense, and there's different experts across the team to be able to help in various ways, from content itself to the portfolio bits to the website design and how it's communicated overall, to help you put your best foot forward ultimately too. And so in terms of that, like, there is a community forum, which we really love, where you can drop in any questions along the way, any feedback from like additional members in the group as well, or specialists like myself. Otherwise, people can have the access to the modules as part of the programs, where we do go through different platforms, how to choose one that is the best fit for you, how to go about styling certain aspects as well, particularly with focus on Wix as a primary platform that a lot of users end up going to as part of the program. Or even as well, if you feel like you want a deeper dive, then they have the opportunity to book a one-on-one together, where we can really dive into the nitty-gritty of like, how can we optimize certain elements, or if you have some major challenges that you want to address, then that's a really great opportunity too. Yeah, great question. But yeah,
So does anybody have any questions for Christine at this time? Oh, okay. You'd like to continue? We'll see if there's any other questions coming up.
sounds great. Yeah, feel free to put them in the chat as they come up as well. But again, we will have ample time at the end in case you do have any specifics that you want to address as well.
I was just going to say it's 10:25
Thank you.
or
And
9:25 for you, right?
amazing. And so with rebranding and repositioning, this is another key consideration area that you'll be wanting to keep an eye on as well. So perhaps you will have done some like research on some design trends, stay up to date with what's currently going on as well, so that you can really think about how you want to position it moving forward as new things come up, gather some inspiration, some ideas of how you want to present yourself, really overall like enhancing that visual appeal, especially. So if there is some outdated like visuals, for example, I like looking at the uses of images for storytelling to icons, graphics, just like these slides here, for example, any high quality alternatives that you could utilize, any personalizations or humanization that you can incorporate, whether it's photos of you for your about page, for example, as well, really ensuring that consistency in place for your color schemes, to your typography choices, to overall like visual elements when you are making choices as well, that like perhaps your icons have similar styling, just like throughout this presentation, for example, that you can see, or even with the imagery that they have similar lighting that's like nice and bright, for example, or if you want a little bit like darker, moodier, that it all kind of cohesively works together with your overall storytelling. And then also looking at that responsiveness in terms of how it's really flowing throughout these different devices as well. And so if your current website is a bit unclear or not communicating with these dream clients, they're not resonating with them in particular, this is going to be a key identifier of where things are at. Perhaps you're undergoing a significant brand identity change as well, repositioning certain things in your content or copy. And so market research, I would say, is like really valuable in that sense, to be able to make sure that it's a key reflection of what you're putting out there for those dream clients, especially. So using the vocabulary that they've been using with you on your calls when you are doing bookings, to even looking at color choices. So not always choosing like your favorite color, for example, but what's really coming back to the associations and psychology perhaps of what you're putting out there. And then again, with the photography, for example, making sure that it's reflective of perhaps like the diversity inclusion of who is reflected in your audience or your key demographic that you're looking to target as well. So making sure that they see themselves in what you're putting out there, as well as perhaps more of that humanization. If you are the sole person that they are hiring, having like that photo of you to welcome them, or on your about page, just to create that connection and trust ultimately. So by being able to really lean into your rebranding and repositioning of things, you can ensure that your website is really being able to best communicate your own identity, your own values effectively to convey your updated messaging to your target audience directly and clearly. And so looking at your two different options here as well, if you are adapting your old website in particular, perhaps you want to update your overall site styling. So you can do so typically as well through your overall design site styles as well on your platform. So this is usually a setting in your dashboard on your website as well. So really looking at any photography that you want to update, whether it's through stock photography to your own brand photography from photo shoots as well. That can be one key option too. And thank you for your question. I see that one too. We're going to be diving into analytics actually into a next key consideration. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. But if there is any additional questions that come up, definitely let us know in the chat as well. And then in terms of the other option of creating a new website, perhaps you want to revisit your brand identity, revisit what is that brand voice, what are the characteristics you want to embody for that cohesive messaging to, again, coming back to the color choices and associations to psychology behind your choices as well, your font choices, even if you want like a more sleek modern feel, perhaps you lean into some sans serif fonts, or if you want something a little bit more classic and timeless, you lean into some serif fonts as well. So some considerations of your new overall identity, or even refresh for that matter, and then maybe consider some new brand photography as well for your own content to create a new look and feel, and also determine what that brand kit looks like for that overall consistency across the board from not only your website, but to different platforms that people might experience you on, whether it is LinkedIn or other social platforms before they even get to your website. And so a few integrations of new features is another key area that you'll want to be able to look at as well. So really thinking about how do you want to simplify and streamline everything, perhaps remove any unnecessary clutter that doesn't need to be there. That includes excessive text perhaps as well. So coming back to how to streamline more digestible copy as well, or adding some visual elements like icons, for example, where it makes sense to break up some text as well. Or if there's like some visual distractions that aren't necessary in there, perhaps this is your time to remove it or simplify the overall layout and navigation of things, just so it's a little bit more intuitive and easy to interact with as well. And really looking at your content optimization equally as much. So making it concise, engaging, and aligns with your target audience needs, vocabulary as well, and really improves that overall readability and approachability of the experience that you want to offer. And so if your current website needs a plan to like reintroduce its new features, services, or even different e-commerce capabilities for shop features, for example, or checkout features as well that people can check out with your services as an example, that's a key area that you'll want to look at, as well as requiring some integrations perhaps as well. So with any third-party providers, whether you have a course, a program, any checkout features as well to really make it easy for people to take that next step in their customer journey with ease. And so these are really strong indicators that you could more easily accommodate with a seamless integration for a more optimal user experience. Another one that you might want to consider too is like a calendar booking integration as well, if that's incorporated into what you currently offer. So I know Squarespace, for example, has a really great one with Acuity, or even how do things sync up with your email newsletter, right? These are things that you want to consider so that everything is being tracked, recorded, and just really seamless for you to update, but also for your users to experience. And so looking at adapting your old or current website here, if you figure out what third parties integrations are actually necessary in your customer journey, you can then be able to like email clients directly through your integrated website platform's email newsletter instead of a third party perhaps, or hyperlinking directly to call to action buttons directly. All these things you can just optimize as well to make it really easy as a one-click experience for people based on your current website. and making sure that they can keep on your current one as much as possible in that sense as well. So for example, if you end up adapting your current contact page to embed your calendar link, that's something of a way to keep track of people that are currently on the website and encouraging some more traffic around the other pages instead of bouncing out to your calendar link. And then for creating a new one, again, you're going to want to explore different features and those third-party integrations to ensure that you are making it the most compatible as possible with your website platform of choice and softwares and tools that you end up using. Perhaps like you want a little bit more of a robust email platform, then that way you'll want to look at third-party integrations in that sense, and then be able to build out new platforms and accounts and integrations where it's needed. So even with like course or programs in particular, if you end up coming out with that in the future as well, those are considerations that you'll want to be able to integrate a lot more seamlessly too. And so we want to give you, yeah, go ahead, Saskia.
I was going to say the part of like it sounds quite, you know, complex to get all of this going, but part of what you do in your business is you help create the steps in order to get to the right decision, whether to revamp or rebuild, right? That's part of what you do as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any questions at all for Christine? Everything going fine? Okay. One of the things I wanted to ask about was how important is it to know and understand the brand that, you know, and how difficult can it be to take an existing website and rebuild it? Like, is that something that, what would your choice be, I guess, is?
You know, it's so nuanced in a way because it really does depend on every single business in a sense. I would say key things to consider, however, is like that assessment or audit is so powerful. And I do recommend clients to revisit this on a very regular basis, whether it's like one big annual audit to see what's been working really well, where your clients being driven from as well. Are there enough people, like numbers also coming from the website and stuff like that to really make these informed decisions? Because just as much as storytelling through your content and design on your website, it's also that the numbers don't lie, right? And they tell their own story significantly as well. And so we'll talk a little bit about analytics as well, as per one question from one of the members. But in terms of that, I would say being able to think about, if your current one is giving you more headaches than it is bookings, then I think this is a really great time to consider if a new platform or a new website at that makes more sense, to be honest. And if you feel like a lot of things are outdated, whether it is the content itself, perhaps you have like much more new service offerings that you want to present, you have like new portfolios that you're not able to upload on your current one for whatever reason, if the features are outdated, for example, or you just feel too overwhelmed by the back end of how the platform's user experience is to update, then these are things that you want to consider. Perhaps a new one starting from scratch may actually bring a lot more ease for you to maintain it moving forward, because as we go into SEO and growth into the next phase of these considerations as well that we outline, that it's going to be much more just bringing you ease. And I think that brings a new confidence to when you're pitching yourself for these new opportunities, as well as putting your website out there for people.
And frankly, the easier it is, for example, for me, if I have, you know, do a new website, the easier it is for me to update it, the easier it will be for other people as well, right? Because if it's very difficult for me to create the website and maintain it, I'm not going to do it, right?
Right. Yeah. And a big part of the Prospology, I feel like, experience, and then what I do in my business with CL Designs as well, is very much around like giving you the autonomy to be able to continue growing and editing things as you need to, right? That you know your content and your business best at the end of the day. And so being able to like switch out typos or like, you know, add in new current pricing that you want to be able to put out there, you shouldn't have to wait on another developer to do that, which takes 6 months, or like an extra like $500 that is unnecessary in that sense, just to create maintenance in your business, right? Like, yeah, by going through, this webinar today, I hope that it empowers people to be able to take these actions themselves and create these informed decisions that feel ultimately aligned with their business goals too.
I have one last question for you. As far as the students, Prospology students are concerned, how successful have they been with their websites? Because I do know there's some really good stories that have come out from that.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been quite a range, I would say, between, folks wanting to do it themselves and getting that feedback through the community forum that we have, as well as the one-on-ones in itself to dive in a little deeper, or even some students have actually ended up hiring Sophie and I to help do their website for them as well, if that's something that you want taken care of as well. So there's like quite a range, which is really nice depending on the support level that you are seeking. Then it's all there and available to you, which is really amazing. And so, yeah, it's been very cool to see how people have been able to get bookings or hires, depending on, again, what your goals are. If it is that you want to end up with an employer directly, or if you want to end up freelancing with consistent bookings as well, that user experience and those clear call to actions on your website that we've helped support people with has just make it a lot easier to get those consistencies in place too. Yeah, amazing. And so for our next key consideration as well, with overall business growth and expansion, this is really the phase that you're going to want to test and iterate time and time again. So getting that implementation in place is really great from a design perspective. And even Saskia, as you had mentioned, what is the importance of having that key branding in place? It's really going to allow you to stand out in your market, especially in the sea of whether it is medical freelance writers or whatever industry you're coming from. It's really going to allow you to stand out and make you that top of mind choice whenever people are making these hiring decisions. In particular, it's going to help you conduct some usability testing and gather that direct feedback from your market as well, from your users, but be able to continue optimizing, iterating, moving forward based on the feedback that you receive, whether it's through a Hotjar tool to your users directly. This is going to be really great and integral for your overall business growth and expansion. And so if your current website is currently experiencing significant internal growth and things are vastly and moving quite quickly, or you're expanding into new markets or target audiences as well, these are going to be really strong indicators that you could use a website that better supports your evolving needs as well. And so this way you're going to be able to attract new opportunities and clients in the future. So looking at your current old website here, consider what are the features and overall user experience that you need. So perhaps if you are targeting, let's say C-suite level executives in companies as you're hiring personnel, that is your contact there, for example, keeping that in mind in terms of your overall demographic and key clients that you're looking to target. Perhaps they need a much more clear, straightforward, minimal user experience and features involved. They just want to be able to book you for a call right away. So keeping these things in mind in terms of the customer journey, how is it being presented? Those are going to be really key in updating your website for overall business growth as well. And then looking at overall updating content and imagery to reflect your new target audience and demographics. So coming back to whether it's diversity inclusion, because a lot of stock imagery unfortunately doesn't have a lot of that, making sure that it is going above and beyond to look for these images that are reflective of the type of people that you want to embrace, or the values and feelings, associations perhaps that you want to embody when it does come to your branding, and overall storytelling when it comes to imagery will be really helpful as well. Again, to stand out in that market and really present yourself as that top choice. And so looking at a key areas for creating a new one from scratch, similar things as well that you'll want to be able to consider what areas are working really well. So that Hotjar feature may come in really handy in terms of this area too, to figure out what are some key behaviors that people have been having to really optimize these features and overall user experience that is needed and required moving forward. And then also looking at any new content that you want to incorporate, and also choosing a new platform if that's needed, or template overall as well. So perhaps if you again want to really look at different templates that are more clean and streamlined, perhaps, instead of something that is a little bit more cluttered of what you currently have. This is going to be a really great opportunity to make that switch. And then as well, as one of you had mentioned, SEO and analytics is another area that you're going to want to be able to look at. So this way, I will say too, if you want to update any like backend technology just to make like a backup for your current website, this will be a great opportunity as well. But this way you can look at overall like performance, security issues, any compatibility with things as well. So really syncing things up, especially with the newest of Google Analytics 4 out, especially this is something that you'll want to pay attention to. And so if your current website is like has no way of tracking your accurate and current performance, then this is something that you'll want to be able to implement. Or it fails to rank on Google at all, then these are some strong indicators that you could use a website that offers a better overall structure and enhance that visibility and traffic and engagement ultimately that you're looking for. So a few things that you can do with your current old website as well. So again, sync things up with Google Analytics 4 moving forward as an analytics service, GA4 for short, will enable you to like measure your overall traffic and engagement across different websites that you do have as well. So this way you'll be able to track more of these different metrics in place in a bit more detail as well moving forward. So seeing how long people stay on your website, to if they're bouncing off to other websites, for example, stuff like that, to be able to really optimize this experience overall. And then be able to get reporting through your website platform and ensure that it's set up properly. So even like most of these platforms will offer this as well, but very basic level. So this is why I also encourage that you set things up with Google Analytics in particular. But this way you'll be able to see some just base one-on-one metrics as well of what's going on here overall for how things are performing. And then also look at filling out descriptions for SEO as well as like any slugs. So again, those like endings of the URLs /home, /about, /contact to really optimize for those keywords, especially in the content that you have on your website. And then with the new ones here, technically Google tracks based on your URLs and domains. So if you do end up changing platforms, it won't actually affect that as long as you use the same URLs in particular. So again, coming back to these slugs, then you'll want to be able to name them the same conventions, or look at choosing a different website platform. So again, if you are changing it, just to be conscious of those naming conventions overall, and then be able to sync everything up with your Google Analytics and get reporting from your website directly so that you're getting multiple areas to make informed decisions moving forward.
I do have a question for you on this. Are the newer like Wix and the other website development platform that you're talking about, do they have embedded analytics already now? And how difficult is it to take an older website on an older platform and add analytics to that?
Yeah, usually, so coming back to your first part as well, like most of them will include like an already integrated version. Mind you, I find them very basic in a sense. Like if you're just starting out with analytics, it may be enough for you to kind of introduce yourself to, but I do encourage you, even at these like beginning or foundational stages, if you haven't been looking at them in the past, like no judgment, it's okay. This is where like our growth and expansion is coming from. So I do still recommend that you sync things up with Google Analytics as well. Typically, the website platform of choice will prompt you to connect it as well. So you'll have like your Google Gmail like login typically that you will sync them up between. And then you might need to put in a few codes and stuff like that between the two platforms itself through Google Gmail as well as your website platform, however, to sync things up. But once that's set up, it's fairly easy to continue the momentum of what it's tracking essentially. So I would say like it's kind of a one and done thing once you get it set up and synced up. So do allocate a bit of time to be able to do that. But otherwise, I would say if you're currently having it synced to your current Google Analytics and it isn't synced up or performing based on the Google Analytics 4 technically, then it won't actually end up tracking accurately in the future. So it's something that you want to be conscious of, just to, again, make sure that you're collecting the insights that are actually reflective and accurate of what's going on so that you can make these choices moving forward. Yeah, great question. And so to kind of come to a close almost as well, so next steps that you can take for your action of adapting like your old website in particular, this may be reflective in some aspects of your new one as well, but in terms of the old current website, you can be able to start with evaluating and assessing what's currently going on with your current website and overall design and user experience ultimately as well. So looking at inspiration, gathering some of that. Is your brand still identity in terms of like your color choices, your font pairings? Is it still resonating with what you want to present and communicate overall to really help you stand out in the market? And then number two, looking at setting clear goals. So whether it is looking at different areas of, if your main call to action is to get bookings, is that very clear and direct in terms of what you're putting out in terms of the content? Is it allowing things that are on there currently? Like, do you have your portfolio in place so that people can make those clear expectations and next steps to make that decision? And then looking at number three as well, to simplify and streamline features and user experience overall. So you want to come back to making sure that things are really creating ease ultimately for people landing on your website, looking at different integrations for those features, if it is a third-party thing for programs or calendar booking, stuff like that, so that it's integrated really seamlessly. And then also looking at number four, optimizing responsive design, accessibility, messaging. So implementing some of these like descriptions for your pages, to alt text in your images, like color choices that have high contrast and legibility. These are all going to really help improve that overall experience. And then making sure to number five, test and like integrate things and iterate time and time again. And then number six, if possible, like you can back things up as well moving forward, just to make sure that you have a current state of what's going on in your website as well, in case you want to make any updates in the future, then you can do so as well. But with your new one, you'll be able to kind of like, I always come back to these three areas, first three steps anyways, from time to time, just to make sure that you are evaluating what's going really well in areas of opportunity, especially as your business continues to grow and evolve moving forward. And so I'll hand it off to Saskia if you would like to share some more details and next steps with folks.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at all on what was presented? Is there anything that you're still wondering about? And speak up or write it in the chat. One of the things, like said, you know, with Prospology.com is that understanding how to develop a brand, the messaging and everything like that, and then to implement it onto a website, whether it's your existing or a new one. And Christine, is that something that you see, that when the Prospology students, that they have developed their brand through the curriculum, and then they come, that they have a much better idea of what they want in their websites?
Yeah, there's a lot more clarity, I feel like, throughout this process as well that ends up happening. And it can take some time and inevitably, right, to find these insights. But I think whether you come with a current one that you've like adapted from a previous experience, job, you know, what have you, walk of life, that you're able to bring this and have much more like insight in a sense of what you want moving forward. And so I definitely wouldn't bypass like, you know, these previous like first 1 to 3 steps, for example, of like being able to assess what's really working in some areas of opportunity, because I think that's going to give you a lot of clarity of how you ultimately create a successful website, whether it is adapting from a previous one or creating a new one from scratch that better serves you.
That's great, thank you. So if we don't have any more, I'm just going to quickly wrap up. I just want to let you know that this seminar or the webinar is available. It will be available on Prospology.com under resources. You can it's for $15, and that will help sponsor more events as well. And please make sure to follow Christine and Sophie on LinkedIn. There's lots of information, both for websites and Sophie for the curriculum and Prospology. There's a newsletter, www.prospology.com. Go there, sign up. And also the Freedom Focus Entrepreneurs. Those are really interesting articles about successful people and how it resonates as well. So these are the things. And I just want to say thank you very much to Christine for presenting this information. I do hope it was valuable for everyone. And I want to say thank you very much for everyone coming as well today. And yeah, and I wish everybody a good day. And please remember, sign up for the newsletter and subscribe to the article Freedom Focus Entrepreneurs, and have a look at prospology.com. And if there's any other information you'd like, please contact Sophie or Christine as well. So thank you very much for today, and we will see you again. Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.